Hi guys, it's Rashmina. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome. Today's video is about productivity and how to get the most out of your day. I am gonna go right into it, so keep watching. Does this ever happen to you that as soon as you start doing something, your mind comes up with all these other things that you need to do that you didn't remember until you started doing this thing? So I might be sitting and studying, and as soon as I start, my brain will tell me, oh, I need to do my laundry, oh, I need to do my groceries, oh, I need to make my bed. And suddenly I feel this sense of like leaving behind my studies to go and do these other things. And that's why I came across this formula which has helped me to kind of decide on what to focus on. In this formula, you divide everything into the category of urgent and important. So say I'm sitting and studying and suddenly I think, oh, I'm out of toilet paper. Do I need to go and get it? Is that urgent? Yes. And is that important? Yes. So in that instance, it makes sense to go and get some toilet paper. But if I'm sitting and studying and I'm thinking, oh, I need to buy a pear to put on top of my breakfast, which I'm going to have at the end of the week. Is that urgent? No, not really. Is that important? I'd say decently. So then I can let that task go and do it later because it's not something I need to kind of focus on now. And then I think, oh, my phone has a lot of stuff that I don't really need. Let me go and clear out all the junk. Is that urgent? No. Is it important? Technically, no, because nothing's happening, because even if all that extra stuff is on my phone, I can still use my phone and it's not affecting me. So in that case, I don't need to worry about this at all. I can just put it off. So when you try and kind of look at your tasks, you can rank them as number 1 priority being urgent, important, number 2 being urgent, unimportant, number 3 being not urgent but important, and number 4 being not urgent, not important. So my second tip, and this one is really difficult, is to
start timing yourself when you're doing your work.
So when I started doing this, I was absolutely shocked with my results, because sometimes I used to think I'd worked a lot, and when I timed myself, I realized that most of that time that I had thought I was working, I was doing random other things that don't count towards my work but had been included. So like I might get up and go to make a snack, or I might get up to do some housework, or I might like casually check my phone and then end up replying to a text, and I just didn't realize how much time I was actually losing until I timed it. So I go on my iPad and I go to stopwatch like this and I press start. And then when I'm studying, sometimes I study and I look at the timer and I see that it's just been a few minutes, and I realize that it's the hardest at that point to stay focused because your mind is sort of racing around. And I feel like once you can cross the 15-minute mark, it's much easier to focus, and then I can go on for much longer. So I try and use this, and this kind of keeps me on track. My third tip is to read a book by Tommy Baker. It's called The 1% Rule: How to Fall in Love with the Process and Achieve Your Wildest Dreams. I think this has to be one of my favorite productivity self-help books ever. I think Tommy has a really nice way of making you stay motivated, because he has this formula which he's devised, which is if you put in 1% of work every day, over time the results accumulate and you're bound to reach your goals. It's not about doing a crazy amount of work one day and thinking that you're there. It's just about putting in little steps towards your goals every day. So you put in 1% every day and you basically get closer to your outcome. Great book, recommend. My next tip is called blurting or brain dumping. So, how you do this is you write down absolutely everything you know about a topic. So, for example, say I am thinking about the topic multiple myeloma. So, I write multiple myeloma and I write down everything I can think about it. So, say one thing I know is that it's a cancer, one thing I know is that there's hypocalcemia, one thing I know is that there are Benz Jones proteins, and I don't know, one thing I might remember is that there's bone pain. So I really have to think about what I know and write down everything. And then there might be some things that I don't remember. So then what I can do is look at my resources and find out, oh, the drug treatment is so and so drug, which I didn't know about or I had forgotten about. So I write that down in the same blotting or brain dumping page, but I write it down in a different color. And why I do this is so that I can remember that this is the thing that I didn't remember. So say this might be drug treatment. So if I write this down in this color, when I look at it, that stands out because that's the thing I'm having the most trouble remembering. And when I look at it the next time, it's going to get kind of highlighted and easier for me to remember the next time. My next tip, and this one is a little bit extreme, is to kind of break down your day into hourly time slots. So what I mean is, say you've planned you're going to go to this fitness class at 7 p.m. You're going to be at work these hours before. At some point, maybe you want to read a book. At some point, maybe you want to cook. At some point, maybe you want to meditate. It's easier to do all the things you want when you know the time you don't have. And I feel like a lot of times, because we don't kind of calculate where our time goes, we don't realize where we're losing time. For example, when I go to university, it's a half an hour bus ride to and a half an hour bus ride back. So that's 1 hour of my day gone. And if I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to study for say 4 hours today, I'm not including that time. I can't include that time because I'm not getting any studying done. So when I'm calculating 4 hours, I need to calculate this time out of it so that I have 4 hours spared for using for studying. Hope that makes sense. My next step is to plan what I want out of the next day. So I'm going to choose any color and write down the 3 things that I want to achieve from tomorrow. So one might be do 50 questions, which is medical questions from a question bank. Number 2 might be do your laundry. Okay, and number 3 is, I don't know, something simple, cook dinner. Now, when I know that tomorrow I have these things to do, it sort of lingers around at the back of my head, and at the end of the day, when I finish my day and I know that, okay, I've done my 50 questions, great, I have done my laundry, great, and I have cooked dinner, great. It gives me a sense of accomplishment and a huge sense of satisfaction because I know that I had the intention to do certain things and I followed up on it. So that makes me feel really happy, and that's why I do it. My next tip is to make your work area a distraction-free zone as much as possible. So why I say this is because sometimes I sit down to study and maybe my phone's on loud, and as soon as I start working, I'll be hear beep beep beep, tring tring tring, beep beep beep, and obviously you go and check your phone. Sometimes you even think you've got a notification when you haven't, and you pick up your phone and get distracted anyway. So it's important to kind of mute your phone or turn it upside down or keep it out of view, so that when you're in the zone, you can stay in the zone for longer. And for me, it helps to study in isolated spaces, because I think when I study in a kind of crowded environment, I end up talking to people. So whenever I try to study, I go to the most quiet corner at the end of the room where hopefully no one will see me, and start my work just there. My next tip is about it's not love, it is basically about attaching emotion. So at one point when I was in medical school, we had a workshop where we were told about how to get more out of our studying. And we were told that if you attach some sort of emotional meaning to your work, you get much better results. So if you really think about why you want what you're doing, what it means to you, what would it mean if you couldn't have it? So how much does it matter? How important is it for you to really have that thing? It kind of makes you realize that your motivation is intrinsic and it comes from within. And then when you know that, and when you sort of have that emotional attachment to this thing, that you really want it and you want it no matter what, it's easier to kind of get up and do the work towards it, because it's number one on your priority list. So yeah. My final tip is to cut yourself some slack. I know that this might not be what you're expecting, but the fact that you've reached the end of the video and you're watching videos on productivity says that you're a really motivated person. So you're motivated, you're driven, and you're working towards your goals. So I'm sure you'll get there. Recognize that and reward yourself. So I am going to watch Modern Family right now. Bye. But before I go, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.